you all very much. Thank you. Well, thank you, Debbie, for those kind words. Whenever I hear an introduction like that, I say, I want to be more like that person you just described. But I'm really happy to be here. And the danger of this little presentation is trying not to give you a 2-hour speech, because I'm so excited about this. This stuff really matters a lot to me. I'm in this line of work, as I know the other elected officials are, not to try hard, not to just be well motivated, but to make a difference. And I'm a real passionate believer that the way you make a difference is by really setting very concrete and measurable goals, holding yourselves accountable, putting that throughout the organization, letting citizens and everybody understand what your goals are. And that's what Hampton Roads Performs is about. A little bit about my philosophy on this and what we've done at the state level, and then we'll see a demonstration of how this is going to now factor in to help Hampton Roads be all it can be. When I ran for elected office for the first time in 1994, I never thought I'd be in politics, got mad at my city council, ran for city council, and I was then sworn in to be a city councilman in the city that year was the second highest homicide rate in the United States. And that was a riveting point of attention. That's not the top 10 list you want to be on. You know, nobody wants to be on that list. And we were undergoing very serious challenges in Richmond with homicide. I came onto a city council with 5 newcomers. There were 4 incumbents, but 5 newcomers came on, so we had a majority, and we were naive enough to think we could do something about it. And I remember early in my time on city council, we asked our city manager and our police chief, what is a strategic plan that you have with respect to the reduction of violent crime? And my police chief at the time said, well, violent crime is a social phenomenon. You know, what can we do about that? And I remember thinking, well, what we can do about it is get some different people. And what I found was in that city government, and I found this in other organizations, and not just public organizations, private sector organizations too, a culture that tried to evade responsibility and accountability, tried to say, no, we can't solve that, that's somebody else's issue to solve. And obviously, if you don't meaningfully set goals and go after them, you're never going to do anything. So the council and I came up with this idea. We just told the city manager one day, look, here's our goal. We're going to have to reduce violent crime in the city by 30% by the year 2000. Violent crime is one of the easiest things to measure. There's just 4 crime categories. We're going to do it 30% by the year 2000. Our city manager said, well, how are we going to do that? We said, we don't know. You're going to do it, and we're going to hold you accountable, and we're going to find another city manager if you can. Because we ought to, in public life, ought to be setting goals and then empowering the people we pick to come up with the strategies. So often, debates in governments are about strategies rather than about goals. They're about programs rather than about outcomes. They're about the nits and gnats of details rather than about results. And so what we said is we're going to set a result target, and then you can get creative. And if you need more resources from us, come tell us what they are, but you're going to have to tell us how we're going to get there. Well, that really taught me a lot. Over the 6-year period, we reduced violent crime by 50%. We reduced the homicide rate by 60%. And what we learned is, until you set a goal, you never know how good you can do, because you're not organized around achieving anything. You know, well-intentioned people working hard can accomplish a little bit by accident, but if they're not focused on goals, you can't accomplish near what you need to. So that was a very powerful lesson that I learned early in my public life. And when I came into state government as governor, I noticed something similar. We had a really good internal management system around our state agencies, you know, procuring goods and services the right way, doing their human resources systems the right way, managing their money the right way. But the management was all internal. It was all internal goals. It wasn't based on external outcomes. Everything we ought to do should be moving the needle, you know, in terms of quality of life for citizens. But that was not the way we measured our success as a state government. So we put in place, with the Council on Virginia's Future, a very innovative, I believe, performance management tool we call Virginia Performs. It was mentioned in a key way by Governing Magazine in 2008 when they said Virginia, again, at first they'd done an analysis 3 years ago. They came back in 2008 and said, you know, we're the top performing state government in the United States, and they focused on Virginia Performs. And if you want to just Google that one day and spend 10 minutes looking through it, what you'll see is the indicators that we believe are the critical indicators for are we a successful state. Each indicator has an arrow. It's up if we're improving, sideways if we're maintaining, down if we're getting worse. You can click on each factor and read about why we think it's important. In each factor, you can see how Virginia compares to all our surrounding states, how we compare to national averages, how we compare to the best state in the country. And then you can also get into what are the programs in state government that move this particular thing. Youth obesity, infant mortality, high school graduation rate, unemployment rate, per capita income. What are the state programs that move those? You can also, on Virginia Performs, get data about what each state agency's top goals are and whether they're meeting their goals or not. This has been very, very valuable for us. I had 1 year as governor where I actually had extra money at year end, my first year when the economy was really rolling. And as we had to decide how to spend extra money, we used Virginia Performs to help us decide, well, what are the high priority things where an investment will really produce a great return? It's been even more important in the years I've had since April '07 where the budget's been tough and I've been having to make cut decisions. A standard way, and I hear other governors talk about this all the time when I go to governors' meetings. Revenues are soft. How do we cut? Well, we just do across-the-board cuts and cut everybody by 4.8%, and then when it gets worse, it's 6.9%. That's a horrible way to do business because not everything is the same priority and not everything is performing the same way. And so we use our Virginia Performs model in all the budget decisions we make. We make it based on priorities and performance, and that doesn't mean our decisions are unassailable or we're not omniscient. But at least we have a yardstick and a measuring point to make very difficult decisions to try to preserve the things that are most important as we are dealing with tough resource challenges. Well, a state is an economy in one sense, but the real economies are regional. You know, states are still dotted lines, but regions are really the powerful economies. And so what the Hampton Roads Partnership is doing, Dubby's role in the Council of Virginia's Future, he's been very focused on this, is can we do Virginia Performs at a regional level? And could we start with Hampton Roads and look at the entire area and see where we are in these various ways? And then use the tool to drive our economic development decisions. Use the tool to drive decisions that local governments would make. And can we have a tool that's available so all the citizens can get on it every day and find out how their region is doing? And editorial writers or journalists or academics who are studying Hampton Roads or anybody who wants information about this region, a business that wants to relocate here and is looking to find out, you know, about Hampton Roads, they can focus on what the goals of the community are. And that's what Hampton Roads Performs is about. I will just say this has been so helpful to us, particularly in a tough and challenging time. I had to make some very hard budget decisions that I laid out to the legislature in December 17. But with this tool, I didn't worry about, well, how am I going to get there? How am I going to do this? Because I had a tool that we had tested and we'd used in earlier budget rounds that I knew we could make it. We've got to, in public life, be focused on performance and priorities. We're not in this just to try hard or be well motivated. We're in it to, you know, make a difference for people. And we all, I'm sure, come into public life with that compassionate motive, and yet we have to wed that compassionate motive with a real focus on, you know, other people's lives, and are we moving the quality of life in a positive direction in the community? So I applaud the partnership for doing this, for being the first region. The Virginia Performs tool enables you to get in and look at some regional data, which is helpful. But this is the first effort by a region to really say, hey, look, we want to set goals and kind of hold ourselves accountable for them, and I really applaud, and I'm not surprised. You guys have been very innovative in doing things like focusing on early childhood education, focusing on higher education accessibility. This has been a region where the philanthropic and civic leadership has come together to do some wonderful things. I think you're going to find this an exciting tool. I think those in local government will be able to use it. I think those in the private sector will find it very instructive about strengths but also weaknesses. Thomas Edison once said, discontent is the first sign of progress. You know, if you're discontented about something, if you see, as we see at the state level, the arrow that's going down, you know, around infant mortality or young obesity, that's where we focus our energies, you know, places where we're getting worse. We don't need to focus so much places where we're already at the top. Let's focus on the areas where we're weak. You're going to see that in the Hampton Roads Perform, and it's going to enable you to really target your activities to make this community even better. So I'm here just to say congratulations. I look forward to working with all of you on this and look forward to the demonstration. So let's have that now. Right, Dana, is that next?